The purpose of this video is to show you where he came from and where he was going. What you can see on your screen is the aerial view of 35 Columbus, Irvine, California. And extending from the left towards the right of your screen is a yellow line that follows the Jeffrey Road. It then turns left onto Bryan Avenue, and then into this little neighborhood that you can see in roughly the center of your screen, but slightly off center to the right. The crime scene is located at the red exclamation mark, almost to the top of your screen, and it's captioned Witthuhn House 35 Columbus. And to the left of that, you can see some red line extending away from it. Makes a short little, detour in the route towards the top of your screen, and then comes back down onto Trabuco Road there, towards the top and slightly off to the left from center. I think I was supposed to turn all these off, so that's okay. We'll do this a dozen times and we'll go through the images. Alright, the purpose of this document is to provide clear and concise hypothesizing of the geographical approaches used by the Irons on the night of the murder of Manuela Witthuhn and the period of time leading up to this offense. These areas off of Jeffrey Road were likely how and where D'Angelo identified the community where Witthuhn lived. If you watch the video that we uploaded of the tour of the crime scene from the ground, you'll notice that some of the features that you see in this first picture, in the first slide, off to the right are all these trees and high walls behind the houses, and then if you look across the street and to the left, you can see some grassy hillside areas, and you can actually hide behind or near those hills and not only receive concealment from the trees, you also have cover and concealment from the ground. There's a lot of rolling terrain there. And you can easily jaywalk from one side of the street to the other side of the street and use the center divider as kind of a safety net for jaywalking across the street, especially in the middle of the night in 1981. It probably would have been very easy to essentially walk across Jeffrey Road. This shadowy walking path leading to Blue Gum Park was D'Angelo's probable early reconnaissance route for the initiation of close surveillance and prowling prior to victim selection. So you can follow here on Bryan Avenue. If you turn left, you'll see here, I'm going to zoom in for it, Blue Gum Park, and the entire area going all along Jeffrey here and then all along Bryan Avenue is all trees and cover and concealment. But at the very bottom of your screen is a biking, hiking sort of canal and a river trail system, which is very similar to any of those river trail systems that were present in East Area Rapist offenses, and then even many of the original Night Stalker crimes. It was generally part of the modus operandi to utilize a canal like that. But during this entire time of coming up Jeffrey Road and then up Bryan and turning into Blue Gum Park, you're actually basically invisible. And you're certainly invisible to anyone who is at 35 Columbus, which you can see towards the top of the screen. So this really allows you to gain this sort of sneaky clandestine entry into this larger neighborhood community, and then and we'll continue about why he didn't go out that way, too. Blue Gum Park. This park leads to Columbus and was likely the base of operations from which D'Angelo settled in on Witthuhn's house as a viable target. And this is the route that you would take for finding this place. This would be the route you would take to cross past as many houses as you possibly can, so that you can prowl and just scope the area out. But you wouldn't attack from this direction, and so what he was doing was sneaking along here and gaining this back entry and looking at as many of these houses as you could find until he kind of zeroed in on something. And Blue Gum is the natural place to find Witthuhn's house, because it's at the end of her street. and you can kind of see you can see all the directions from there, but not many people can really see you, and you wouldn't draw much attention in that park. So you can think of it as a staging area. And then this is the crime scene. And so you can see Blue Gum Park is here in about the center of your screen, and then just a little bit above it is the crime scene. Now, interestingly, with this stuff, going from the scene of the crime out of the neighborhood, you can actually follow the flow and the feel of the land, because right around the corner, or just basically Witthuhn's house is on the corner, so you make a little exit. You're right there at the exit of her street. And once you did, you would know that you want to turn left, because, and I didn't include a picture of it, but you can see it in the video we made. Turning right is really not advantageous to the offender who's leaving, because there's a one-way traffic sign, and if you turn against that one-way traffic sign, people are less likely to follow you. So, and then the park is on the left, way up there. Turning left when exiting Witthuhn's house against the one-way sign would allow quick, easy, and undetected access to the park at the left of the frame. Looking through the park where D'Angelo surely exited after murdering Manuela Witthuhn. Up ahead is Trabuco Road. Surrounding the site where the photo was taken is another 3 or 4 possible entrances to large neighboring sections of housing developments. These developments are not immediately or simply accessible by vehicle from the route which D'Angelo used to exit the Witthuhn house. So, once you've turned left into that park, you're sort of in a corridor, but you're not really restricted to it. It's just a safe sort of natural alleyway that's going to form, and you're insulated from the road. No one can drive up to this park unless coming from the other direction, which they wouldn't on the night of the offense, because they wouldn't even know to be there. And then D'Angelo would have moved through the park using this ridge as concealment at the left, likely following the perimeter of the backyard stretching from left to center of the frame. This exit route would have him traveling towards the camera. So if you're toward the right to your left of your frame, there's some hills here that you can kind of hide behind and crouch by. It's definitely the way you would. On this picture, it's on the right. So that breaks the 180-degree rule. It's a little tricky, but he's basically on the right of this picture, left of this picture. They exited the park onto Lewis, where Earons would have turned right on his way out. This photograph looks towards the park, and thus the offender was moving from right to left in the frame. The corner of Lewis and Slocum. There's a blind spot here where the offender could park a vehicle unseen on the night of the attack. D'Angelo almost certainly parked here near the corner of Slocum and Lewis on the right side of the road in this obscure blind spot. Beyond the street ahead is a cul-de-sac on the right, and directly ahead is only a small secondary neighborhood entrance, and Slocum loops back around the school, out of frame at the left to the location of the camera. Notice that neither set of houses at left or right would be able to see his vehicle due to the high walls, and traffic approaching from the direction of Remington and Trabuco would pass the vehicle without noticing him tucked against the walls at the right of the photo. And then exiting via Remington on Trabuco, he could turn left against traffic, moving from right to left and be gone within 5 minutes of the freeway. So just a very polished offense, very military-like in its tactical operations capacities. The Earons was basically approaching his criminal offenses as though they were a special forces operation, and you really get a feel for that on the ground here in Irvine when you're checking the place out, because every single aspect of this big square that's on your screen right here is perfectly tailored and designed to serve as an area of operations in what is essentially a combat or a special operations scenario for the offender. This is the route that he took. I know on the internet, if you Google it, you'll find that no one's really been sure so far where Aaron's parked, and they wrote that although the exact parking spot is unknown, well, it doesn't appear to be unknown anymore, and really what it takes is to go to this location on the ground, and and follow the terrain and follow the circumstances, and it's very obviously the ideal geography for Iran's crime. And of course, the name of the street, because of course he picked that.